Imagine being a human being thousands of years ago. In a time when there are no cities, institutions, books, or teachers. Just someone alone in nature, surrounded by a reality they did not fully understand, asking the same questions every conscious human being eventually asks in their lifetime. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this all for? What made the first shamans different from most people today is that they never went looking for someone to hand them the answer. They went looking for the answer itself, directly, through their own experience. Through observation, solitude, and sitting with reality long enough that reality would start to reveal itself to them. There was no outsourcing of understanding back then, no group agreement upon what is the truth. The only thing they had was their direct contact with reality as the sole source of their knowledge. Part 1. The Curious Mind. The first shamans were born with an unusually deep need to understand. A restlessness that ordinary life could not satisfy. A list of questions that would not go away no matter how much they tried to ignore it. And that question was simple. What is this reality? And what is my place inside it? Most people in any era find a way to suppress that question. They fill the space with routines, with distraction, with the comfort of accepted explanations. The shaman was the person in the community who could not do that, who felt the question so deeply that the only available response was to go looking for the answer with everything they had. This is important to understand because it reframes what a shaman actually was. They were never a religious figure or someone performing rituals for social status. A real shaman was first and foremost a seeker. Someone driven by genuine curiosity about the nature of reality before any tradition or title existed to frame that curiosity. Part 2. Direct experience as the only truth. The shamanic path had no scriptures or hierarchy. The only valid source of knowledge was direct personal experience. This meant going into nature alone for extended periods, fasting until the ordinary mind became quiet enough to perceive something beneath it, using rhythm, drumming, breathwork, and in many traditions, plant medicine, as tools to access states of consciousness that the everyday mind cannot reach, and then bringing what was found in those states back and integrating it into understanding. Every single thing the shaman knew was earned through direct contact with reality. Nothing was borrowed. Nothing was believed without being first experienced. This is what separated the shamanic path from everything that came after it. Religion asks you to believe. The shaman's path demanded that you go and find out for yourself. This produced a completely different quality of knowledge. In this path, there is no information held in the mind as a concept, but understanding embedded in the entire being as lived experience. Part 3. How they saw the world. The first shamans did not see themselves as separate from nature. They saw themselves as an expression of it. Every animal, every plant, every natural force was understood as alive, conscious, and communicating. Reality was not a dead mechanical system to be controlled. It was a living intelligence to be listened to. This perception was not a poetic metaphor for them. It was their literal understanding of how reality worked, and it produced a way of living that was in constant dialogue with the world around them. Every decision, every action, every interaction was made with an awareness of the larger living system they were part of. The shaman was also the person in the community who could move between different layers of reality, the visible and the invisible, the physical and the non-physical. This ability was developed through years of direct practice and experience, and it placed them in the role of bridge between the community and the deeper forces that shaped existence. Part 4. What modern spirituality lost. What we call spirituality today is almost entirely secondhand. We read about enlightenment, we listen to teachers describe awakening to us, we adopt frameworks and terminologies and practices that were designed by someone else for someone else's direct experience. The shamans had none of that, and that absence was their greatest advantage. When there is no doctrine to lean on, no authority to defer to, no belief to hide behind, the only available move is to go deeper into your own direct experience. That pressure produced a quality of genuine understanding that is almost entirely absent from modern spiritual culture. The question worth sitting with after watching this video is a simple one. How much of what you call your spiritual understanding is actually yours? How much of it came from direct experience, and how much of it is simply something you read, heard, or decided to believe because it felt right? The first shamans would not have recognized the difference between those two things as subtle. To them, it was the difference between knowing and pretending to know. Part 5. What we can take from them. The shamanic way of life is not something you can copy and paste into the modern world. The context is gone. The landscape is gone. The silence that made that kind of deep, direct experience possible is almost gone. But the principle behind it is completely available to anyone right now. The principle is this: stop outsourcing your understanding. Stop collecting other people's conclusions and calling it your own. Instead, start treating your own direct experience as the most legitimate source of truth available to you. And don't get me wrong, this does not mean rejecting teachers or wisdom traditions. It means using them the way the shaman used nature, as a pointer, as a map, but never, ever as a substitute for the actual journey. The first shamans were ordinary human beings who refused to accept a second-hand version of reality. That refusal is what made them extraordinary. And that same refusal is available to every person alive today, regardless of where they live, what they believe, or what tradition they come from. The question was never which religion is correct or which teacher has the best framework. The question was always the same one the first shaman asked alone in the dark thousands of years ago. What is this reality? And are you willing to find out for yourself?